Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support Amendment 7, which I'm a signatory to. My right honourable friend sitting next to me and I have calculated that we've been in the House collectively for 56 years, and we've only ever, either of us, voted once against the Conservative whip. This will be the second time on which I think we will both be voting against the Conservative whip, and I want to explain why. First of all, I just want to say one thing about what this amendment is not. The Right Honourable Lady, and indeed my Right Honourable friend, gave eloquent exposition. What they didn't mention is that, in contrast to some things that have been suggested, it has no impact whatsoever on the government's ability to prepare for Brexit. It's about what the government does after Brexit. Exactly right. Secondly, Clause 89 is one of those items which those of us who've been ministers for a number of years will recognise as an abundance of caution clause. Some group of lawyers somewhere stuck in the bureaucracy clearly alerted ministers to the possibility that they didn't have certain powers unspecified, and said it would be a good idea to have some unspecified powers in case the unspecified lack of powers turned out to be important. I don't think, therefore, that in itself this amendment will be very likely to have a huge impact, if any impact, on the government of this country. So this brings me to the question, why am I supporting this amendment? And the answer is that it's actually the most extraordinarily important thing to make clear to the government, that it isn't just this amendment. It's the precedent that this amendment sets, which is that on any power that is taken in any bill in relation to the exit of the UK from the EU, it will be possible to bring forward, and if there is a majority in the House today, and if there continues to be a majority against no deal, similar amendments, and it is my proposal that we should indeed do that. And I want to make it abundantly clear to those of my honourable friends who are thinking of voting against the Prime Minister's deal, which I shall be supporting, that the majority in this House, if it's expressed tonight, will sustain itself. And we will not allow a no-deal exit to occur at the end of March. And now I want to come to the last point, which is, why am I so passionate about not allowing such a deal? Now, many members, including the father of the House, have spoken eloquently about the dangers, or long-term dangers, to our economy of WTO trading and so on. My right honourable friend, the member for Wokingham, for example, very much disagrees with that. I don't take a particular view about that. My own preference is for a continued free trade deal with the EU, which is much our largest trading partner, but I don't want to argue, in contrast to some, that there would be a disaster in principle if we were on WTO terms. I don't believe it would be disastrous. I think it's suboptimal, but not disastrous. But for 5 long years, I was in charge of the resilience of this country. Yes. And during that period, I saw many examples of the civil service and our military and our security apparatus being prepared or not being prepared for certain issues that closely affected the well-being of our country. And that is one of the reasons why 2 years ago I passionately argued with the government that it should, and my right honourable friend, the member for Wokingham, will recall an occasion a year ago when I made that argument even more forcefully, that it should undertake serious preparation for a no-deal exit. I believe that would have had the effect that some of my honourable friends earlier said. It would have altered our negotiating position. It wasn't done. It wasn't done. I have been in awesome detail through the papers produced. I have listened to the briefing for Privy Councillors. I have consulted senior officials across Whitehall. I know what the RAG ratings of green and yellow and red mean. Nothing. I know what it is actually to have prepared for dealing with the gas interconnectors, the electricity interconnectors, the many other details that are concerned. Now, some of my honourable friends and some others in the country believe that they can assure that under circumstances where we wreck the deal, we refuse to make all the payments that the EU is expecting, we falsify their expectations of a reasonable departure, that they will then very reasonably set out to work with us in a calm and grown-up way to ensure a smooth departure. It may be so. I'm in no position to deny that it will be so. I don't make lurid projections. Anybody who believes they know it will be so is, I think, deluded. I do not believe that we can responsibly in this House impose on our country a risk which may be severe of serious short-term disruption for the sole purpose of gratifying the possibility that we avoid certain eventualities that certain members of Parliament would prefer to see avoided and on which nobody in this country ever voted because they were never asked to vote on it. Under those circumstances, I will be voting with the Right Honourable Lady against my own government, very much against my own will, and I will continue to do so right up to the end of March in the hope that we can put paid to this disastrous proposal.
The Right Honourable Gentleman's succinctness is a textbook of how to help the House, and I hope that it will now be closely studied.